doesn't work. Oh, I had this. Wait. Let me rejoin because, yeah, I'll come back in a sec.
No problem.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Iris. Hi, MWBR.
Oh, is that my name?
Yes. Are you Mechanical Whispers?
Yeah. I thought
Nice.
I had it typed out. Hey.
Yep. You did the first time you entered, but I guess when you came back in VR, it switched.
Hey.
You are
Hi.
back.
Hello.
Okay. Let's see if it works now. Okay, now. So we
All right.
inserting this here. Oops, somebody moved it.
Sorry.
I know, it's hard not to click on it sometimes. If you want to see it up close, you can roll your mouse over it and then just type F. And then what I do often, because I hate that blue thing that keeps showing up on it, is just kind of click somewhere.
Yeah, but then that
I mean,
takes it out of the media frame.
what it was for me is you go to objects and you click on the video and then you zoom in, and that doesn't show the effect. And
oh yeah, that works. That's better.
Right click does the same, doesn't it? Same as there.
Oh yeah. Oops. What do you think you?
And then I probably just clicked on it by accident.
All right. I think Michael is gonna record this, just FYI, and yeah, I'm gonna share the link to the document, so everybody knows what we're gonna go over. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the first point in the evening, which is it's really nice that Pelinor is here because it's actually his PR. Is about media frame alignment. So yeah, probably he can also help go over it and explain all the options and stuff. Then we will go a little bit over the new scene preview feature that we're working on. Then a bit of discussion about the event model for behavior graphs. And then we open QA, or if anybody has questions or anybody wants to show anything they're working on, then we can go over that. Last week's meeting was pretty productive. We were over something that Jim was working on, and there were some issues, and we managed to fix them and make some sense about the whole networking model in behavior graphs and hubs. So hopefully this week is fun too. So the new media frame alignment settings. So yeah, this is a recent contribution from Pelinor, as I said. You can see here that when you create a media frame and you add a media frame component, this is the text here. Oops. Yeah, here. Then you have the previous options, but now you have these alignment settings, and also is the new setting the snap to center, or was scale to bounds the new setting? Yeah.
Scale to bounds, yeah. I think snap to center doesn't do anything, so I'll put in another PR to get rid of that, because it confused me a few times.
Yeah, I haven't really used that setting that much, to be honest. I didn't pay much attention to it, but yeah, the new ones are basically the align X, Y set and scale to bounds. And they do exactly what you're thinking they do. So yeah, maybe we can open the scene. Let me put this to the left.
Can you show what other options are in there besides center?
Yeah, so you have min, center, max. So yeah, so if you see in every axis, it will go, for example, in the Z axis in this case, it will be aligned at the bottom, the center or the top. So we'll align the max of the bounding box of the object with the max of that axis in the media frame. So
Nice.
we probably will see it better with an example. So I'm going to use the new Steam debugger actually to preview this. Have a few instances, a few rooms that I have created, and then we'll go over this later. But well, have created 3 rooms to use, which I usually use like for a testing room, a demo room, which is in the demo hub, and a local room when I'm developing locally. So I'm going to open the demo hub because this is already merged, so it should work. And then I can just open that room, and then that should bring me right inside, straight in the room, with those room flags that I have set up here already set. And then I just click update, and that opens the room there.
The room's not going to win any design awards. It was my very rough and ready testing room.
Oh well, this is perfect because it just shows all the possible options. So this is exactly what you need for testing. It's anything fancy, but just something that shows. Yeah, it saved me a lot of time because I after merging this, I couldn't really push it to release because I have to fix conflicts, and I had to spend some time just like trying to rebase and align this with the new updates because there were a few updates just around the same. Like in media loading, and so yeah, I had to do some work. So
I really appreciate that. That's always the hard part with the PR, especially where you kind of there's overlapping stuff. It's like, thanks for doing the hard part.
No worries. Thanks for the contribution. But yeah, it's always like a bit of a pain because if rebasing for you also means like a whole thing. So yeah, I thought I might just like take the time and do it. And so yeah, well, this is a good example about how all this works. So this one down here, it says like all alignment combinations with scale to bounds to false. So scale to bounds is where you see the bounding box of the media frame. So scale to bounds false means that it's not gonna modify the scale of the object at all, and it's only gonna align.
Oh,
so
I need that one so bad.
Yeah.
Great.
Try scaling it up now, though.
Inside the.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stays aligned there.
Yep, that's good.
That's really cool.
Now take it out of the media frame.
And then it goes back to the previous scale. Which, I mean, I can't question that if that's expected behavior or not, because it's still under the management of the media frame. So I can understand that could be or could not. I don't know. Well, for now it works like that.
I didn't anticipate that particular use case, but yes, I think if you scale it up outside and you plonk it in, it probably is fine. I didn't. Yeah, we probably don't want to restore the scale once we take it out of the media frame. But anyway, yeah, it's hard to say what the right
another option.
I felt the bug. Your testing scene helped a lot when I was filing bugs the other day.
Oh, good.
Okay. Yeah, and then, well, you see that you can see here the different alignment options. So here is the center. So you have this cube, this reticulum, and then it will be aligned relative to the position of that specific cube or media frame in the global cube. So you can see that it's aligned top, center, like a min max.
Really nicely.
Yeah. So it's always aligned consistently. So yeah, I think this is a pretty useful thing. This is the same example, but this is scale to bound, so it will always fill the media frame wherever it goes. Like here is just like you can't see the alignment really because it's just fill to bounds, so there's not much. So yeah, this allows to things that weren't possible previously. So like I think this is the major use case that you were trying. Well, one of the use cases that you were trying to add. This is this chessboard where you can align the pieces to the bottom of the media frame, so you can actually they look like they are on an actual board and aligned to the bottom of the board that you can play chess game. And yeah, well, there is like a lot of different media frames here with options. We're not going to go over all of them, but yeah, you can just. This is the same example, aligning to top, bottom, or min, max, center, and yeah, works on all the accesses and scale to ones or not, and these that we need to remove because I never really use that. I don't even know what is that for. I don't think we ever have like a code path for that.
It's not the center. I can tell you, I remember what the use case was. The proposed use case was a whiteboard where you would just put like a bulletin board where you would just pin like post-it notes on it. And the idea was that you could put them anywhere in the frame, not just like have them snap to like the middle of it.
Okay. Oh yeah. Makes sense actually. Yeah.
That was what I remember.
Yeah, but you're right though. There's no code on the client side for it, so whatever it did, it doesn't do it anymore.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, so that's the new PR. That's already on production. If you find any bugs, please file, because there was like the rebase was actually kind of a pain. So maybe there's something that fell through the cracks there, but hopefully not. Or at least the major use cases, I was testing using this scene precisely, and I couldn't find major bugs. But yeah.
I didn't really know I needed this until I was working on an escape room. And in the escape room, one of the puzzles had mounted, like, those mounted animal head on the wall kind of thing. And we were trying to snap the necks to the wall, like, so that each animal head, fit like with its neck hitting the plaque on the wall. And like, we couldn't do it because they always want to center. And then we had to like play with pivot points, and it was ugly. And this would solve that problem. It's great.
Yeah, we went through a similar thing where we were doing like the chess board, and we had to basically hack in points to stop them scaling kind of incorrectly. And also the other one is the one I've got here, the plinth. They wanted to make a museum, the designers, and they were upset because the things hovered. So I've got like right here, you've got two plinths. So they just wanted kind of the idea being that things sit on the plinth and they don't just kind of hover. Well, I kind of get it, but there was pretty extreme amount of work for that nicety. But
yeah, it feels like hacky and.
Cool.
And they have media frames on them, and they're spawners.
Oh yeah. These ones here.
Stack them.
Yeah, these ones here. Well, the same as I think this is the same as the object that we have in the room right now. But yeah, this is a media frame that you can spawn, and then you can't even place it in the. So
it was testing nested media frames. It was kind of weird. Kind of
right
in scale. Yeah.
Do you find that? I mean, if I had one request for that, like if I were going to add a feature request, it would be like I don't. If I'm holding a hierarchy of objects because they're parent-child relationship between things, like I don't want the children to get grabbed by things, by media frames when I'm moving the parent. But I don't know.
In a media frame relationship, do you mean, or in?
Yes.
Yeah. So if it's like, like that. So you want to be able to pick up the parent, but not the children?
I just mean like if I'm holding a parent and the children move along with it, I don't want the children to get pulled away from me, like to get pulled away from the parent by a media frame that I passed by.
Oh yeah, okay. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I think I felt a similar bug.
That should only be possible if the children are also
like loose, grabbable.
Grabbable, yeah. Maybe. There is some complexity, as you found with your cogs on parental relationships, and certainly with animations. I'm not even sure what the right behavior is in some of those cases, but yeah, it's certainly worth worth thinking about.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah. Well,
this yeah.
I think the stuff in the cogs example that you showed, Jim, all made sense.
It did. It did. It just was that it's difficult to like reset something once you've separated it, if it's moving and stuff like that. But I mean, my case was a pretty edgy to begin with, like edge case.
Yeah.
And I think now that you've made this more functional and usable, I think now we'll actually discover how we'd like to use it and different ways of using it and stuff. I think before it was a little bit like not quite, it didn't feel finished enough to fully understand like all the nuances. And now this is feeling more ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think as well the behavior graph stuff. It seems like a good match with the with media frames, and so I think there'll be more utility there. So kind of rather than the sort of vague putting something in a general area, snapping something into a media frame seems like a really good trigger for a behavior graph. Like placing a piece on a board, or putting a switch into some position, or a wire in place, or something like that.
Right now, you have to use a separate trigger to like detect, and I think it would be nice if we can use the get component property or some other way to know, like, oh, that did its thing, it snapped it, or
I think there should definitely be like if there isn't already, there should be like a snapped in and snapped out type event or something like that for the media frames.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
we added a couple things to media frames in behavior graphs. One was locking the object in the media frame.
Oh, cool.
And the other one, what's the other one, Jim? I can't remember now.
I don't know. Neither of them work right now. But the other
they're broken.
The other one was set active. So you could
disable the media frame,
working or not.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the lock one, that is cool. So you could put like something in, and then it's in there, sort of locked off. That's
like
nice.
you picture in an escape room or something where you like,
exactly.
I've solved that part, I'm done. Now you can't grab it anymore.
Yeah, that reminds me as well. This is sort of stuff that we've got on our kind of whiteboard at the moment to do. And it's sort of filters, media frame filters. So the idea that you could set up this media frame will only accept objects of this with these characteristics. And the moment we're planning on them being name based. So you'd have kind of, we can only accept things with this name or this tag or something. I don't know whether I should be thinking about that in terms of behavior graphs. So.
Yeah, in behavior graphs you can actually tag objects. So probably you can use that to some combination of media frames plus tags to say like, oh, the media frame is gonna sort of like, or set like the tags on the media frames. Like you can set, because now we have types. We could add another option to set like to check a few tags by just a text, because now tags are just like a text string. So you could add like a several text strings, and those will be the tags.
Tag. Yeah. I think the issue though, that would work right now for like whether, well, sort of. I think it does need some code for like, don't even light up the ones that aren't active or that aren't usable.
Yeah, definitely that needs code on the client side there.
Yeah. This is great. It's really, really great.
Cool. Well, this is the new media frames. So try it out and open issues if you see, or open features if you want. So moving on, next thing is the new scene preview. Well, kind of show it a little bit here, but this is this panel that this is something that I was actually this PR I started it like the beginning of the year. But originally the idea was a little bit different, and then I kind of like stopped it because I was pulled on different direction, and then now it's not like I think I was talking about it recently. I said I'm gonna just do it because it's very useful. It's a pain to have to like export and drag and drop, and remember the flags, and remember the rooms that you were using, and so it's like it makes the whole iteration process pretty slow and kind of painful. So yeah, we started this, and it's in this panel here, what is called the N panel. So it's in this right side panel in Blender. So you click N, and it just goes in and out. And I have a different few sections. So I made it. This house panel is only one item now, but there's a few things that we wanted to move there. So eventually it will have more items. Right now it's only the scene debugger, and then the first thing that you see is the status. If there is any room open, and the status of if you are if it's creating, if it's still, or you need to sign in, or you are already in the room. So it will be red, yellow, or green. And green means that you can actually update. The update button will only be enabled if you can actually update. Here are a few flags, which is basically these flags. These are the query strings that we use, which always was bothered that there's not an easy way of knowing which ones we have to use, what are they for, and so I just added them here. There's more flags that we don't really, you need to read the code basically to know about them. So here you have like little information about what they do. I guess most people here are probably familiar with this, but the average user that is not being, or maybe like some of the people that are not familiar with the back local scene or the skip entry, for example. Well, this is a way of just setting those parameters. Then there's this create room subpanel here. So the purpose of this is that you can add instances, and then you can create room on those instances using these flags. So right now, right now I have like 3, the ones that I use more usually, which is the demo room, which all know, the testing, which is the behavior graphs testing instance, and then the local instance, which is the one that I use.
This got cooler than the one you gave me. This is awesome.
Yeah, I added this because, as you use it, you figure out things that can be useful. So yeah, whenever you want to create a new instance, because you have your own clown instance or whatever, then you just click on add, and then you just add the landing page of the instance here, and that should be enough to create a room there. So whenever you want to create a room, you just select whatever the instance you want to create it in, you click on create, and then that should open a window. As you see, takes a little bit. I think it blocks the UI while Selenium is creating the instance and the internal browser instance, and then you can see waiting for signing. So the room has been created. Now we just need to make sure that the user is signing. Actually, the signing, this could be something to change, because signing is only really needed if you use the bug locally seen. Otherwise, you don't really need to be signing. So yeah, maybe we can move that and make green if you are not using the bug local scene. But if you are using the bug locally seen, then you need to be signing. So we wait for that. Otherwise, we stay orange or yellow until you do the usual signing. We can't really automate that. So you just have to go to sign in, set your credentials, click on the link on the mail, and then you will be signing and you will be in, and you can start. And then at that point, this button is already unlocked or enabled. So you can just set here the export options that you want to use. I've added the most, at least the ones that I use, that I commonly use.
The ones I forget the most. Yes.
Yeah. So I use a lot the selection only, because sometimes I want to just see how a few things look. I don't want to export the whole scene, especially when it's a big, heavy scene. Export apply, which is if you have modifiers or then apply them before exporting. So that's pretty, I usually have that enabled. And then you just click on update, and depending on the size of the scene, might take a little longer, a little faster or shorter, but eventually it should just export and which is now, okay. Sometimes it takes a little bit to update the lights anyway. I have to look into that. But yeah, that's how it works when creating a room.
That is very cool.
Then once you have the room created, you can, well, the other option is opening the room. You can always do that as long as there is an instance of the browser open. So I could just go here and click on
Wait,
this one or
does
this.
Open Room not work if the browser isn't open? I thought it did.
Yeah, open room is always enabled. So if the browser instance is not created, it will create a new one. If it's created, it will open in that instance. So now I'm in the demo local. If I want to open the demo room, I just click on open, and this will refresh using the demo instance.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to open using different flags, then I just need to change the flags here. So imagine I want to use no flags. Here, I just go and open again. And you can just remove
How
it.
does it
Wait. Hang
How
on.
does it work if you don't have debug local scene enabled? Is it uploading the GLB somehow?
No, it just opens the room, but it won't work. So if the bug local scene is not added, then you can't you can't really update.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, I see. So
it will. I mean, the reason why you can still update is because you want drag and drop an object and see how that object looks.
Yeah.
So
that doesn't appear to be working.
It should work.
Very cool.
Okay, now hang on.
I think. Sorry.
Hang on with the flags. I thought the flags were stored in the room URL. In the rooms list.
No, they are not. Not because maybe you wanna use different flags. I only saved the room itself, but then the flags will be the flags that you have set here. The initial version was storing the flags, but then I thought that it doesn't really make sense to have that sort of hard coded, because you might want to open that room with different flags. I mean, the room is just like you can open it with the new loader, the old loader, with the back local, so it doesn't really make sense to make that. That's why it just saves the room, and then whenever you click open, it will use the flags up here to open the room.
That was one of the things I was going to mention in my review. Good.
Okay, no, yeah, I changed that because as I was using it, I ran into these situations where I was like, I just want to try this with the old loader, but now I can't use that room anymore. I can open it and then remove the flags manually, but it doesn't make sense to make that hard when we already have all these in place. So yeah.
Yep. Good.
So now if you close the room, and then you see this is always available or enabled, so you can just click on here and click on open, and that will create a new browser window. You can only have one browser window at a time. I didn't get into managing multiple windows. I think the most common case is having or testing in one browser instance. If you wanna test in two windows, you can just clone or duplicate the tab or create a new window manually. If we feel like at some point that's useful, maybe we can expand to do that. But at this point, it was only that.
Can you choose the browser, or is it automatically opening Chrome?
This is a new Chrome instance, so you can have if you use Chrome it works with Chrome on. Yeah, so I didn't go over that again yet. Let me. You can close the instance here, and then the settings are here in the add-on. So here you go to the add-on. You have this section down here, Scene Debugger. Here you can choose the browser.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great.
I was thinking of moving that to the panel too, to be honest. It kind of makes sense to have this here and not to have to go to the preferences just for that. But yeah, right now is there, so you can choose which browser.
Okay, great.
You can delete the profile. So whenever, your local browser always have a profile. You can manually choose. I think Firefox lets you choose change the profile, I guess Chrome too. So this one is a different profile, a specific profile for the Selenium instance of the browser. And then if you want to delete that profile because you want to start on a clean browser, then you can just delete it here. Then there's an option to override the path. So in some systems, I haven't really tested I have tested in Mac, in Linux, but only Ubuntu, and Jim has been testing in Windows. And in Windows, I think it just finds the executable right away, so you don't have to do anything. But in Linux, I have issues with detecting the default browser binary. So in some instances, you might need to manually set the path to the binary here. And then this is the last option, is the modules. So this is based on Selenium. This is this library that helps you instrument browsers to automate things and testing mostly. So this uses that. So the first thing that you have to do is install the Selenium dependencies. So when you first enable this, then you will need to go to preferences, and then look. Sometimes I don't know why when you uninstall, it still detects the Selenium instance. Uninstalled successfully, but it's still detecting it. I don't know why.
The main gotchas for me on Windows were remembering to log in.
Yeah,
that was the one that got me, and then something else. But it all worked after like a very short time. It was pretty easy.
Yeah. I think it's something I didn't figure out. I mean, I've been doing a lot of installs, and it worked like most of the times. Just at the beginning, I saw that sometimes it doesn't really detect that the dependencies are installed or not, and for some reason doesn't. Well, anyways, I have to look into that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
When you first open the panel, you will see that it tells you that the dependencies needs to be installed. So you just click on Setup. That will open the apps Blender add-on preferences. Then you just click here. You can see, but if you have because it's on my other window, but if you have like a terminal open, you will see that it's installing packages. It will, when it finishes, it will tell you the status. In this case, was successfully installed, and then
not entirely. The pip process always returns successful. So that's what I spent a large part of my morning doing, was figuring out how to make that produce a proper error report. And fortunately, you just have to do it and then check if the module is alive, or available. And if it's there, then it works. Otherwise, if it's not there, then return the error message. And you also need to capture the output, because otherwise, when you try and print the result.std_error, it's just none. It won't return a useful error message.
Yeah. I imagine that there are cases where this might. I didn't have. Yeah, for me it was a. This usually doesn't fail, but yeah.
No, it usually doesn't. Yeah, the only way.
But why did it fail exactly in your case?
Because I made it fail.
Oh, it was like you were forcing it. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, it was like I just did the basic error handling. I didn't look too much into it. So yeah, definitely we have to check that and show the right error.
Yep, but I've got that written down. I'll put that in the review.
Yeah, if you provide a way to trigger that, then yeah, we'll. Yep. Yeah, but yeah, that's mostly it. So we still are reviewing it. So hopefully during this week we can land it. And then there's like a bunch of things that I would like to add, but for the first version, I think this is probably good enough. I was thinking of maybe it will be useful to have some options to tweak or to change flags. For example, the physics debug flags is pretty useful. So a way of easily, you can do it from the chat inside the room, but again, I think there's a lot of people that are not aware of those.
That doesn't work for me. So is there a floating string parameter for that?
Well, you need to run the browser with a specific flag, so with a specific option. So when you run either Firefox or Chrome, you have to enable specific browser flags for that to work, because it relies on share array buffers, and so the good thing is that doing that by hand is kind of a pain, because you need to know about those options. You need to know that on you have to type this slash debug in the chat to enable that. But through Blender, it's easier because you just can like show a button there, like enable physics debugging, and then we handle that for you. So this is I think it can be pretty good for people that are not familiar with that to easily enable, disable all those options. So eventually that I would like to add support for that. So launching the instance with support for debugging the physics and showing a button to do that. Also direct upload to Spoke, and that will be pretty cool too, because it's another friction point that you have to export, go to Spoke, create the scene, upload. So it slows down something to add. But yeah, for now I think this is pretty. This is already like a huge improvement on the iteration.
That's great.
It's a real game changer.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's hopefully it will be released during this week. Okay, moving on. Next thing.
One quick question. I did notice in my version, and I may not, I don't have the latest, that when it is connected like that, when I go back to Blender and I move things, just move on the grid, there's some lag. Like it feels like it's trying to update, even though I'm not like hitting an update button or anything. Blender performance suffers a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed that. Yeah, I didn't notice any.
That's on Windows.
Maybe there's something.
Maybe there's a difference. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have I have a Windows machine, so maybe I should do some testing there.
It's not like enough to make it like, oh, I don't want to use this or anything. It's nothing, severe. It's just I noticed there is like a little bit of a the frame rate's lower in Blender, like when I'm moving things around.
Okay, so it's only so apps. It's fine. It's only Blender which is lagging.
Right.
But do you track anything? I don't see anything which needs to track Blender. You do something on action when you click a button.
Yeah, it's only when you hit update that it should change anything. So it almost feels like it's trying to listen or something, like to.
It might be worth checking Task Manager and just seeing if there's anything running rogue. It could be like Selenium for some reason doing something crazy, or it could be in multiple places.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye out for it. That's all. It's nothing major. Just
It's consistently lagging, or it's only sometimes. Oh yeah. Then probably we need to. I mean, if it will be. Randomly, or it happened once, maybe it was something about the rest of the system is affecting for whatever, but if it's consistent, then probably something's wrong.
I just wish there was like there's no debug in Blender to see what the
the thing is like Selenium, the Selenium process is sub-process of the Blender process. So if there is doing something that might be affecting, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something wrong about Selenium, or there's doing something that makes Blender lag for some reason. So yeah, we'll try to test even more tomorrow in my old Windows machine.
Jim,
Yeah,
did you
that's
try
good.
to turn the plugin on and off to see if the lagging is really related to the plugin?
I haven't done a ton of testing with it, to be honest. That's
Actually,
why I'm saying just keep an eye on it. It's nothing severe yet to really report.
Lagging would be very severe.
No, I
because
mean it would be if it were like bad. I just mean like even the little bit that I experienced was nothing extremely concerning. It was just more like, hey, that's a little different. I'm not sure why yet. But like I said, I'm on an older version, so it could be that as well.
Yeah, I will test tomorrow, see if I can find anything.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about?
One question. Why did you split create room and open room? Or do you want two menus for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe just because they have these similar lists where you can see instances and rooms, and having them, I don't know. I just felt that in my head makes sense to separate it into two things: creation and this opening, but not.
If you want to open something and it is not there, you just create it in the background, and then I don't know. I just ask because I think one menu would be enough. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, these two things are different. This list here and this list here are different things. So this list is an instance where you want to create rooms.
Okay.
These are rooms that are already created.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just so you can add. Well, the demo instance is the one that comes by default, but then you can add if you have your own instances or the personal or a cloud or your own infrastructure instance, that you can add those here, so you can create rooms in all those different instances. And then once you have a room, or once you have created a room, then you can just click on add and add that room to the list, so you can reuse it next time.
Yeah. So the top list is create instance and not create room, right?
Well, this list is to add an instance, but when you click on create, you are creating a room in that instance. So you don't create the instance because the instance is the infrastructure and it's already created. If you don't have an instance, that you can create a room, really. Yeah. So this is the and actually I forgot to mention, but rooms, you can click on add and that will add a new room to the list. By default, it's just it doesn't have any room ID or anything because you can't know. But if you are inside the room already, so if you create a room in an instance and while in the room you click on the add button here, which explains in the description there, then it will add that specific room to the list. So you don't have to manually. Yeah.
Very convenient. Great.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that's it for the
Cool.
Next point, if there is nothing else about the scene preview, is I wanted to bring this up. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I didn't really have time to get into it, and it's this issue that Jim opened about adding more granularity to the events that we expose on behavior graphs. So right now, let me expand this. So right now, the only interaction events that are exposed is on interact. And here you need to choose any object, and then whenever it is interacted with means. So interaction in this context means whenever you kind of click or grab, and then if you trigger, that will also send an interact event. And if you just with your hand, you are inside the the object and you grab it, then that first frame that will also send that on interact. So so that's the only event that we have right now. So expanding that, yeah, I was thinking, I was looking at other interaction models from the XR kit and Unity, for example, and trying to map that to our interaction system. Kind of came to this idea of these events, which will be having interaction events for when you start and you end interact with something. So whenever you're using the cursor, when you click, the moment you click, that will be on interact start. The moment you release, that will be on interact end. Well, sorry. Whenever you click that first tick, that will send on interact start, and then after that, it will be like on interact end. The way it works now. Maybe we should like change that so it sends the on interact end when you actually release. I don't know. Need to think a bit more about that. But then hover events probably also interesting. Hover enter, hover exit, which will be when a hand or a cursor enters an interactable object. In those cases, and then grab and drop events. So yeah, grab is whenever you are holding the in the case of the mouse or the cursor interaction, then it's when you are clicking. So it could be like something like on interact stay, sort of when you are grabbing, and when you release, it will be on interact drop. And that will work for hands or cursor interactors. Both of the or any events will work for a hand, left right hand, and left right remote interactor, which is the cursor interactor. Yeah, so that's the first like draft that I was as I was going over it today. I thought could make sense, but I just wanted to bring it up here just in case anybody has been more into the interaction or interaction event model in apps and is seen something that or has any idea about what will be like a better model.
Yeah, I think it looks good to me. I haven't really kind of got into it yet enough to say, but the events are critical. Getting these things right is very important.
Yeah.
And whatever we need in the engine is kind of just should sort of come out here. And I think these effectively do exist in the engine, in the bit ECS engine now, don't they? More or less.
Yeah. There is well, as I said, the kind of like the interact event is just like the first stage of the grab event.
Yeah.
So you hold something. The first moment you just like click on that, that's interact. We are not exposing the grab, or internally we call it like hold. So we are not exposing that in behavior graphs, but we only expose initially the interact. So that's first frame where you are clicking on something that's you interact with it. But you can't really do things like, oh, you click, but you hold it, and then when you release, all those type of events or just grabbing, which will be grabbing something. We don't have that, or hovering, enter, exit. There's another event that I think initially we talked about also, which would be the stay event. So interaction start, or hover, enter, stay, exit. I'm not sure if it makes a lot of sense. I haven't seen in other similar platforms or like XR-based platforms that have like XR backend. They don't really expose the stay event that much.
I mean, like a cursor move event in a browser.
Yeah.
Like enter, exit, and then move, and then sort of X, Y kind of. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, move or stay, or that type of event. I haven't seen that exposed that much. But yeah, no, maybe necessary if that would be useful.
Well, I think we can get that now from using a gate on untick and or like a conditional and just doing the on interact start and end.
Mhm.
Although I don't know, can that be connected directly to a gate? Does that work? Like,
What's in? Say it again.
yeah, I think that should work. Because okay, if we use a gate, then we have the tick going through it, and we have the on interact start opens the gate, and the on interact and closes the gate, and both of those take event inputs, right?
Mhm. No, yeah, yeah, that for sure will work. It's more like if you wanna use some parameters for that event. If you have like a specific state event, then you can send information about where the cursor is or where the hand is positioned in wall coordinates or screen coordinates about the cursor or wall coordinates if you're in VR. So those things, I guess you can also do that exposing just a node to get the cursor position in the screen coordinates or wall coordinates or hands. So yeah, you can do that like both ways, or having a specific event, or maybe just having a node to get the cursor position, which is a bit more versatile because you can use that anytime instead of only when. So yeah, I mean, I'm more leaning a bit more towards that, like having.
What do you say, Jim?
An event, and then having some nodes from the input system.
This looks like a good start to me. For me, I have to kind of use it a bit to discover what I like and don't like about it. But this is exactly what I was hoping for, at least to start.
Yeah. So in this case, I mean, the things that I've done got me like a bit like questioning this is like, so on interact start and end. So on interact start will be just that one frame where you start grabbing. So that first frame that will be on interact, but on interact then will be triggered immediately. So it will have like the moment you click will be start and end almost right away, because we don't really have because the I mean kind of like on interact end and on drop overlap in this case. So I'm not sure, maybe it's better to have something like,
because you might want to separate out like things that are not grabbable. So you could, for instance, have like the interact start is that just fires on the frame when you click on it, and then when you stop clicking or grabbing, the on interact end fires. But during that process, you may or may not have been able to grab that object. Like, for instance, if you lost the network race, you wouldn't have grabbed it. Or there might be logic in there that prevented you from grabbing it. Do you see what I mean? So you could separate out the idea that they went to grab, they started the interaction, they were denied the grab, but then the interaction continued for a period of time, and then finished, and then you do want the interact end.
Yeah, no, that actually that makes sense, because it was you're right that not all objects are grabbable. So interacting in that scenario means that you click on it, but there's not going to be an on grab event because it's not grabbable.
Yeah.
So it still makes sense.
Or you lost the race to get it, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, still, I think in that case you will need to manage that. I mean, that locally it will always trigger no matter what.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah.
You resolve that at the graph level. You will need to. Well, I mean, actually, if you grab something and you move it around, and you, it will be like whoever wins the ownership races will be moving that event. But
actually, there are some other issues there that let's not get into at the moment.
Yeah, Yeah. I guess it will. I guess we will always trigger those events, and then you will need to check if you are the owner to actually execute on the grab event. So, or on the interact end.
Should that be automated?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it. I didn't spend only like a few minutes before the meeting trying to figure out this. I need to go a little bit deeper. I don't have so much experience with the interaction system yet, but yeah, I guess the because the event is related to the actual controller, so it's not tied to the ownership and the network state of the object. So whenever you hold the trigger of the controller, then all that event, so on interact start or on interact will be trigger, then on grab because you are actually grabbing the object, but then the object you won't be the owner of the state of the object. So all these like network transform, you are not the owner, so you won't update, or the rest won't update based on your ownership state. You will update based on some other ownership state. But physically you are still grabbing that. So yeah, we can. Yeah, I guess one way will be not to trigger that event if you are, but I don't know, because if you are not using, well, yeah, I guess we could go in the way of resolving that. I think I will rather triggering those events no matter, just based on the physical, like the state of the physical interaction, and then you resolve that at the graph level.
Yeah. There's no state then, is there? It's not ambiguous. It's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
And you need to consider it further down the line.
Yeah, because you can always check, like, am I the owner? If you are the owner, then you do something, or otherwise you don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't quite understand. These events, are they only local, or would you receive any of these events remotely as well?
No, these are only local.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all the physics systems only execute locally.
I get that. I was just wondering about the event bits.
Yeah. So, for example, the physics objects, the body type is kinematic or dynamic or static. So whenever somebody moves an object, they make it kinematic locally. So make it kinematic. They move it locally, and then you update based on the network transform. But the physics system is not updating the object anymore. It's just the network transform component information about the position rotation, which is updating for the non-owners.
Yeah, so the nominal owner is responsible for the physics simulation at that point.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
propagating out everything, so you've got one source of truth. The owner is the source of truth.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, only the owner is the one simulating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
So, we'll experiment with this as I go deeper into the interaction model and see what makes sense, and then we can maybe go over it again next week.
Can I ask, the way it is right now, like for VR, if you move your hand or yourself over an object, is that considered an interaction, or that would have to be implemented as like a separate trigger function?
You move your hand inside an object?
Yeah, I know you said grabbing and clicking on something is considered an interaction.
Yeah.
But in VR, if you just move your hand inside an object or touch it, would that be considered an interaction?
No, that's, well, right now, I'm talking about what is exposing behavior graphs. That's not an interaction. So that won't trigger the interact event. Okay. The interact event is only trigger whenever you, when you are clicking while hovering on something. So that's a combination. Okay. So you are hovering, and at the same time you enable this pad, which is like a trigger, which can be like front trigger, grip, or like mouse or cursor trigger, then that will trigger the interact event. So that's the only thing that is exposed on behavior graphs. Internally, we manage many more states. Like you can be holding something, you can be hovering something, and that means basically that at the cursor level is well, if you are using your hands, that means that the physics shape is colliding that physics shapes, and then we consider that a collision. So that's a hover event. And if you are at the same time you are triggering, then we consider that you started a grabbing, and you enter in the grabbing state. So we first trigger the on interact, and then we will trigger the or you are in a grabbing state until you release. And that's a drop event. Well, so internally we handle many more states. It's just right now in behavior graphs we only expose interact.
Okay.
That's an interesting point actually, because in VR there's almost two different types of hover. There's the hover when you point at something, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the hover when your hand actually goes into something. They're almost kind of, you would want to differentiate them from a game mechanic point of view, because you kind of just arbitrarily pointing at something is one thing, but sticking your hand in it, you would want to sometimes do different types of behavior. So perhaps on hover enter has some state that can represent that, the event type or something.
Yeah, that was actually this last part was
kind of what you're saying there. Oh yeah, okay, sorry.
So should we output the interactor entity also, and should we expose some node for querying the different interactors? So I guess it will be something like, okay, you are triggering on grab, and then we, as the output of that node, we will be outputting the entity that you are actually grabbing, but also the interactor. In that case, the interactor will be just an entity, because in HARS everything is an entity, and then you will need to do something like, oh, is this the hand left entity or the right left entity, or the cursor left or right?
That makes sense. Yeah, maybe they could be bitwise flags, and then we can just nice, simple, tidy logic.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's the best way of handling that at the graph level. Yeah, if it's exposing an entity or just having different output for the different interactors, so having like 4 sockets, and one is hand left, one right. I don't know, like.
I think the same. I think take the web model, and then you in hover, your handler for on hover enter can just take in. It can either say I don't care what it is, or it can filter for just for hands, or just for cursors, or just for the right hand, or just for the left hand, or whatever.
I think it is one output. Sorry, I think it could be just the interactor entry, and you ask for it, you filter it. Is it the left, or is it the right, or is it? So I think it may be easier, because when you have all 4, you need to plug in what you want to ask for. I think the nodes become very big and huge.
Yeah.
When you
I kind of like the idea of just outputting an entity, and then you can query the input system and just check what do you want or what it is. Yeah. Well, probably next week I will come with more information about all this, and
that's cool.
We can go it again.
Right lines.
So Imagine is asking, what about double clicking? Clicking. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can output also the some timestamp that you can use to compare.
Is there even double clicking on the web in general?
Sorry?
I don't even think there's double clicking, like the concept of double click on the web in general, like in a browser, right?
There is, for sure. Yeah, you kind of get it as an event flag. Yeah, you can attach to click, or you can attach to double click.
This shows my lack of web dev.
We don't use that at all in HAPS. So it's not the concept of double clicking doesn't exist, but we have right clicking. That's right clicking we do have. So right clicking is what you do. I mean, if you right click on any object, you will see the object menu, or I'm sorry, the object view where you can pin link. So that's the event we're using. That's only on the 2D web. In VR, I mean, sorry, in 2D screens in the regular browser, in VR on desktop and mobile, but in VR we don't have right click, so the interaction model is a bit different there. You can't right click on something. You can only grab the right click. I think is mapped to the A button in the controller, at least in Quest. Um, so yeah, it's different paths there for interaction. I guess probably we will need to map those. Yeah, well, that's a different side. That will be more like input mapping, and which works also for the keyboard. At some point, we have to expose all the keys and event for keys, and but yeah, for now, I think at least exposing uh, these events, outputting the target or the interactable and the interactor, and these nodes for querying the system, and maybe exposing also like outputting some sort of timestamp that you can use to compare timings in case you want to measure.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think that's for starters that kind of makes sense, and then we can expand.
Yeah, you could always build your double click then if you want to by just having a kind of flag or something like a little sticky. I don't know how you do it in a graph, but it's easy in code.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, how do we store the time?
Double click in a 3D world or a VR is quite strange. It is typical 2D interaction because, maybe. Pellinor, do you have an idea where you would use a double click in VR?
I can't think of one, no, for sure. I can't think
You
of
go
any.
in the bar and have a fight, and if you double tick on someone, he falls down faster.
My thought
Yeah.
would be that it would be more likely to be something that was like a 2D interaction in the 3D world, like a button on the wall or something like that. I don't know.
Something to emulate, sort of a
related.
Mhm.
Yeah, related to that, I think VR doesn't use those 2D interactions that much because they feel very strange.
Yeah,
When you
I think there's
try
no.
to
I don't think there's a
stream
good
in
argument for
VR,
giving it
click
first
on it like on a
pass.
desktop.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, you're acting on VR using a 2D device, whether it's a trigger button or a mouse button. You're still interacting with the button with your 3D world. So I think you could have it as a quick way to implement actions, like if you're maybe double clicking brings up an inventory screen, or double clicking spawns an object there, or an effect there, or just does something. It gives you another option to play around with.
I think the way the way it is, it would be possible to do. You just have the responsibility would be on you as the graph writer to do it rather than relying on the platform to provide it. As a
I'm not
first
saying
class
the
kind
graph
of
writer
citizen.
shouldn't be able or shouldn't do it, but can we look at what the graph writer would need to do, and how we can do it so that something like that doesn't turn into uh, a noodle soup?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty straightforward. I mean, it's some sort of sticky variable that knows when it was last clicked and can compare it on the next click to say, am I the second of two reasonably closely spaced clicks? That must be possible without too much trouble in the graph, I would have thought.
I've done some like last clicked sort of stuff like that before, just to keep track.
Yeah, as long as the time is available in the event and you can store it, and then you've already got kind of comparator nodes and all that kind of stuff, probably be able to build it.
So would we get the time from the now node, or would that come from the interact node?
It should come from the the event node usually, as a feature of the event. But I don't know what. Well, I suppose they're all happening in the same frame. So now is going to be actually the frame time probably rather than the thing. What is now currently? Is it now or is it the frame that's being executed in behavior graphs at the moment? Probably a question for Miguel.
Sorry, I couldn't hear very well.
The now property in the behavior graph, is that actually wall clock time, or is it the current frame time that's being executed?
I think it's wall clock time.
Because you almost want a separate frame time, or unless you store the event times independently.
Yeah.
So because you want it to be static for the execution of the frame, you want it to be the same number. But yeah, it's not going to make a huge difference, but it's probably worth considering.
Yeah, I have to check that. I haven't really played that much with that node or that part of the code. But yeah, I was imagining that reason what we want more possibly for event nodes is like some sort of timestamp, like world clock.
Well, Imagine was asking that question, and we're just wondering whether it's worth bothering if you can just grab the frame time from a global object of some kind anyway. Is it worth wiring up every event to have some sort of a time pass through or not? Probably not, just watches up the interface.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to be like some difference in the time that you're going to get if you get it from the event versus you get it executed in another node.
Yes, because you have some ticks between probably until the graph really is able to check the global time from a different node. So it's really, I think it is more convenient to have it directly on the event.
Yeah.
Because this is really the time which is captured when the event occurs. It's not when the graph has done some processing and gets some time from somewhere else. There could be some ticks between.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't happen in the BitECS implementation. I don't think. I mean, it's it's not actually the time that the thing was clicked. It's the time that the BitECS interaction system executed and registered that click, and and that is actually the same frame that you're going to be processing this tick in, like certainly the interact start event, because it's only valid for one frame. It's like literally fires on that frame, and if you don't deal with it, then you're never going to see it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that should be the case, right? Because also, I think the behavior graph system executes. Yeah, it should be that same frame. Also, all that part is synchronous, so.
It's deterministic, isn't it? Because that's part of the BitECS system.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking about while looking at other systems is they have these events, which I didn't consider, and they might be interesting. So it's like this first, for example, for hover events, this XR interaction toolkit has first hover entered, last hover, or first hover, last hover exit. And then they also have hover enter. So I guess this makes sense in the case where you have multiple controllers, like in VR you have two hands, for example, and then you might be interacting with an object and you are entering your hands and one enter after the other, and you might only want to have one event for the first one entering instead of triggering an event for all of them.
Good point.
I was reading about it, I was thinking, does it make sense like to have like a first, because I mean I guess you can always do that in code, like setting some flag that okay, this was entered, so now there is a hand inside. So I'm not gonna process any more enter events until there is an exit event, something like that.
That's like multi-touch in the browser, isn't it? Multi-touch works in the same way. You have you can have more than one touch event active at any one time. I haven't thought about it from a hover point of view, though. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's where I have to look a little bit deeper into this.
I think the hover is almost the most useful of all of these things because I realize like that's the thing where often you need a message or an explanation, a tooltip, like what are you about to click, and I like that I can do that now. That's great.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, I guess kind of always like expose or hide that complexity from the behavior graph user and just add some sort of flag in the node where if you enable it, will only trigger for the first hover instead of having multiple nodes. So you have a node that is on hover enter, and then you can.
I just lost you, Manuel.
Oh no, me too.
Yeah.
I feel like it was the important thing he was about to say.
Yeah, I was waiting on that. The screen's gone blank too.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, now the
Shit.
media frames are coming in.
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
And he left again.
Jim, did you make any progress with the UI elements, menus?
No,
and
that I just started thinking about that.
okay.
But I actually think this new change is going to help me with that. I think playing
Of
around
course.
with those events.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's something I may actually try to do today.
Okay.